Okay, it looks like we're live, and I didn't go to the trouble of putting that light behind me to balance things out, and so I look like a pasty corpse. That's awesome, isn't it? Oh, the early arrivals. I don't know if you've been still in there. Luke and Musical Aviator been waiting for me. But yeah, oh, you are there, Luke. Good. Just from your comment that you were there 30 minutes ago. Oh dear. But yes, going live. Yes, I am looking pasty. It'd be 5 minutes of fluffing around just for the sake of the color, and probably survive with me just looking like I've got some sort of terrible illness. Oh, is Mimsy going to join us? She was being weird. Come up here. Go up on the chair. You like it up on the chair. There you go. Yeah, look, it's the people on the internet, Mimsy. Come on, settle down. She's been acting weird. She was sitting there all happy and patient, and then I opened some lemonade, and the hiss of the bottle opening freaked her out, and she ran away, and she's only just come back. Anyway, you settle down. Hey, Charlie, how are you? We'll angle around a bit so we get more Mimsy. There we go. More Mimsy. Pirate Cat TV. Yeah, I told you your adoring public was going to come, Mimsy. You're just going to haughtily look off in the other direction and say, that's a bit rude. That's it. Come around and look at us. Yes, yes, yes. She wants the attention. Yes, she does. There you go. You settle down and be good. I think she's slightly affronted that I stopped patting her, but it looks like she's settling down now. I should just sit with us for a while. As we talk the news today, as you said, Musical Aviator. Yes, the Victorian election's coming out. I may or may not do a live stream of it. I did not know that it snowed in Mount Baw today. Although we did get a temperature drop here, but only slightly. Yeah, the weather is all kinds of screwy, really. It's very hard to know what's happening. Oh, well, you want attention. Please just come right down and say, no, scratch me, scratch me. Yeah, so... yes. Oh my God, I almost couldn't believe, speaking of weather, Donald Trump's actually enough of an asshole to tweet, it's cold today. Whatever happened to global warming? And I feel like I say yes, because every single one of the many, many peer-reviewed scientific studies into climate change, every single one of them opened with, when we say global warming, we mean everything will be warm always. And if it's ever cold anywhere ever again, even in winter, that means nothing about climate change is real, so you can ignore us. So points to Donald Trump for picking up on that, because not enough people realize that when you're, because the term global warming and climate change have been used interchangeably, if it's ever cold anywhere under any circumstances, that means that it's impossible that that mountain of scientific evidence is real. Well, she really wants attention. Oh, and hello, Belinda. Music over. That was another Trump brain fart this week about raking up the leaves in California to stop wildfires. That's what they do in Finland. And the Finnish president was like, we did briefly mention that because most of our country's forest, we have, quite an involved forestry policy, and we manage the forests. I don't know where he got the idea that we rake leaves. And of course, we all know where that comes from. It comes from Trump simply is not very bright. And it's a combination. He's not very bright, and he holds his supporters in absolute contempt. So he knows he can just spout whatever ridiculous brain fart occurs to him at a given moment, and it doesn't matter because there's no repercussions for anything he says or does. His supporters are that fucking munted. Oh, Charlie, did they do a return of Man Bear Pig in South Park? I haven't watched South Park for years, actually. I'm not sure what they're up to these days. Belinda, Trump getting the name of a town wrong in a press conference is the least stupid thing he does. Dead Viney, yes, we've got this is Mimsy TV. She's come. I told her adoring fans were coming and she should join us. So she did. So yes, all your internet fans are watching Mimsy. Yes. Oh my God, she just wants. Yeah, she's being really demanding. Yes, come on. Yes. Oh yeah, scratch under the chin. You like that, don't you? Yes. This is just going to be the Mimsy live stream. Everyone wants to see Mimsy happy and getting lots of pats and scratches because that's what Mimsy wants too. Yes, yes, that's what Mimsy wants too. Yes. Mimsy's always the star, but she's quite old. Like, I mean, you know, we don't know exactly how old she is, but she's like, 14 or 15 years old, which a lot of cats don't live that long. She, I don't know, she's a bit grumpy, but she's not really showing really bad signs of age. But Mrs. Angry keeps talking about she'll probably die soon. I'm saying, don't say that in front of her. That's so rude. It's probably true, but you don't say, draw it to the cat's attention. She's going to die soon, because she probably is. Free State. Mimsy is far too lazy to attack me. Demanding I pat and scratch her is the most animated she's going to get. And she's had enough pats and scratches now, so she's just going to sit and relax. So, Dead Viney, we call them bushfires, and to the best of my knowledge, there are no bushfires at the moment. There were some bad bushfires a month or two ago in New South Wales and Queensland, which was frighteningly early in the season to get bushfires. Normally the bushfires get to their worst between January and March. So to have bushfires in September, October is quite bad. And having seen the North American summer and the fires all over the place, it makes me worry quite a bit about our summer and what the bushfire season is going to be like. And hello, Agro Pixie. And hello, Megaleech. Yes, Agro Pixie, I've heard that thing, cats knowing when they're going to die, so they just wander off and die somewhere. Mimsy's predecessor didn't do that. She got hit by a car. Actually, no, I think it was a boy. I think Mimsy's predecessor was a boy. Yes, but that was a long time ago. That was 12 or 13 years ago. And as I said, like, Mimsy was at least 1 or 2 years old when we got her, which is why I'm saying I don't know exactly how she is, but she's like 14 or 15 years old. So, but she's pretty relaxed. If grumpy, she is more than a tad grumpy. But that's the way life is, I guess. I mean, as everyone knows, I'm a tad grumpy too, and old. Oh my God. It's like, how old am I? I'm old to the point that my knees like to give me messages like, stairs are a bad idea. I don't like stairs. Yes, that's always fun. I don't even think I did anything in particular. My right knee in particular is giving me jip, and I just noticed it recently. If I try and go up and down stairs, I do it quite awkwardly, and it's like, so that's fun. That's a fun little thing to think. Is Mimsy geriatric? She's not far off it. She is of mature years in cat terms. Like I said, lots of cats don't live as long as her. Some live quite a few years longer. Oh God, if AIDS was here, he could tell stories about his cat that lived an absurdly long time and was really sort of decrepit at the end, like, you know, with missing teeth and obviously arthritic and hopping around. And yes, and he just disappeared one day, as Agro Pixie was saying cats do. Just, disappeared, never came back. The old knew he was dying and just wandered off somewhere quiet, as cats are wont to do. Yes, Musical Aviator, you're right. With this, the rain in the last month is just enough to promote some growth that can thoroughly dry out by January to have just a frightening amount of fuel for bushfires. So yeah, it's not going to be good. All signs point to a particularly bad bushfire season this year. Oh, yes, Belinda. There was absolutely bizarre. Sky News, who are like basically a propaganda for the Liberal Party, even they couldn't protect this idiot candidate for Frankston, who was incapable of saying anything sensible. Like the Liberals, both, I mean, because we've got the state election coming up here in Victoria this weekend, and there'll be a federal election next year. And neither at the state nor federal level do they have any coherent policies. They're just going with all these ridiculous scare tactics. And they're particularly mind-blowingly backward thinking on energy policy. And this idiot is trying to say, like, you know, the Labor, they've stopped companies investing in new power plants. Under us, they'll be able to do that. And the interviewer's going, but they can do that now. No, we're changing things so they can do it. And the interviewer's going, yeah, but they can do it now. So are you saying you're going to give them money, like taxpayer money, to open new coal-fired power plants? Oh, no, they'll be self-funded, but they'll be able to do it under us. And the interviewer's going, but they can do it now. What are you talking about? And he just went gobble, 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 gobble. It was absolutely bizarre. Musical Aviator. Yes, going. So you don't get fined for compulsory voting, and also to get the democracy sausage. There's a polling place near where I live. I mean, schools. Most schools. I don't know if most schools is ever, but a lot of schools are polling places. And a school near me is, having their fete, or they're calling it the fair, on polling day. And I think they're probably be clever, I think, because they'll get lots of extra people coming through the grounds, so they'll probably make lots of extra money. So yeah, probably of the choices of polling stations, and there are a few, probably go to that one, because there'll be all sorts of stuff there. Yes, Luke, onion under the sausage, as we all know now from occupational health and safety. You know, I honestly think that, for those who don't know, big hardware chain in Australia that famously does lets community groups do fundraisers on the weekend. They set up a barbecue grill and grill sausages. Traditionally, it's sausages and onion, and it's a sausage sizzle, and it's $2 or a couple of dollars for sausage and a piece of bread. You want onion on that? Yep, you get onion on top. And the story came out that Oc Health people in the hardware store said, we've had a problem with people dropping onion in the aisles, and it's a slipping hazard, and we've had at least one person suffer a serious injury from slipping on onion. So we're going to change it. You can't just spread your onion on top of the sausage. That's too precarious. The onion has to go on first, the bread, and then the onion, and the sausage sitting on top. And it got reported all over the media, some combination of this is a ridiculous thing to be talking about, and this is an outrage, a nanny state gone mad. I honestly think that's going to turn out to be a stealth marketing campaign by the hardware chain, because everyone was talking about them. Like everyone, they got all this coverage in the news, all this free coverage. I reckon someone in their marketing team come up with, hey, let's do something that's going to provoke a reaction. It's really inconsequential, but it'll provoke a really out of scale reaction, and we'll get heaps of coverage and our name mentioned in the media for free all the time. I honestly think there's a very, very high chance that's the case. Hi, Dr. Nick or Tendai. Charlie, that's the really polite way to do it. Do the eat your sausage outside the Bunnings before you go in. But yes. Oh, look, interesting thing you raised. Everyone always talks about, oh, the woman who sued McDonald's for her coffee being hot. Because, of course, coffee's hot. That story is almost always misrepresented, because in that case, the coffee was literally boiling hot. The temperature of it was far too high, and it should never have been served to someone that hot. And it did like permanently scar her. That it was, when she spilled it, it was so hot. She got serious burns and was permanently scarred. Everyone always belittles that story like, oh, that's just a ridiculous, frivolous lawsuit. But McDonald's were actually at fault for giving that woman a serious injury, because there's no way that coffee should have been as hot as it was. And they needed to have an enforced policy of a less dangerous heat to keep the coffee at. Oh, Musical Aviator, you do everything back to front. Get your sausage outside the hardware store when you're leaving and eat it in the car park. That's all topsy-turvy, world turned upside down madness. You're right, Dead Viney. Even brewing coffee that hot will burn the coffee and make it crap. But yeah, they absolutely should not have, like it wasn't being, the way, this is the old McDonald's coffee, you know, where they put the coffee filter in the grounds and the water goes through and the glass pot is sitting on the hot plate. The hot plate was way too high and was basically keeping the coffee just short of boiling, which is a really dangerous temperature. Yes. Linda, didn't someone slip on a grape and try to sue Woolies? I don't know. It doesn't sound beyond the realms of possibility to me. It's funny, like the reason I know that thing about the McDonald's thing, I read an article once and it collected all these stories, and it was basically like everything you think you know about these frivolous lawsuits is wrong, and it collected a whole bunch of them, and I was like, okay, what you heard was this, and that's either misrepresenting what happened or is not telling you the whole story. Now, look, the entire context is this. Yeah, and I mean, I reckon I'm as guilty of it as anyone. Sometimes when you see a story and you just think, oh, that's absolutely typical, I try so hard to train myself. It's like the warning sign. Like we always worry about, okay, there are all these people, and yeah, social media in particular is notorious for it. There are all these people who put out deliberately false stories. They're just trying to inflame arguments and whatnot. It's not even, like Trump's ridiculous fucking drivel of fake news. I mean actual non-news organizations, whether it's private individuals or political groups on social media, deliberately falsifying stories, extreme stories. And the big warning sign when you need to check and recheck a story, if you read a story or see a video and it provokes a really strong reaction in you, whether that's positive or negative, whether you go like, yes, this is exactly me, I agree with this 100%, this is fantastic, or the opposite, if it makes you really angry and really worked up, first thing before sharing is like take a breath and see if you can verify it. See if you can find trustworthy sources verifying the story. And sorry, hello, Joel, how are you? And Megalish, you're saying I'm still having audio issues. Okay, not sure what's causing that. I was considering, because obviously, okay, I'm just using a webcam and there's a built-in mic in the webcam. I was considering using a proper microphone along with the webcam, so don't use the webcam mic, have a proper mic. I guess I've got another USB slot there. I could get a USB mic and do that, but so that's a reminder. I might look into that, in fact. Oh God, you're going to be able to work Christmas parties. Yeah, it's kind of leaning with you, Tendai, that bed has a fair chance of winning out over a work party. Yeah, it's a tough one. Oh, Belinda, you looked up the lawsuit. According to Google, in 2017, a Sydney woman won $150,000 compensation for worth after slipping on a grate, but it was overturned on appeal. Oh, those appeals will get you. Like Rebel Wilson, when she successfully sued that tabloid magazine and got a huge payout. It was like $10 million or something. And but it got overturned on appeal. Oh, bummer, because you'd have such a big party. If you had a big win like that, you'd just have a huge party. And then to have another court go, no, you're not getting any of that. Like, God damn. Oh, Megalich, you went there on appeal, a banana peel maybe. Lost her case about the grape, but won on appeal. Yes, well, puns, I like that. Oh God, a couple of people I've seen posting things on Facebook. It's like a really long story, quote unquote joke, and it's really long bit of text, and at the payoff at the end is an awful, incredibly labored pun. And it's like my initial impulse on seeing someone use up my time like that was to punch them, but then I thought, no, that's what pun jokes are meant to be. You're meant to make people really wait for the payoff, and then the payoff's this incredibly labored pun, and it's like, oh my God, I sat through that whole thing. What the hell was that about? Do you want any? And one pops into my head. It's like AIDS's favorite joke like that. But yes. So how was the birthday on Tuesday that unsaid on Facebook? I mentioned that why I wasn't on a live stream on Tuesday. It was young Ms. Angry's birthday, and we went out for dinner, and it was super yummy. Super yummy. It's a place on Chapel Street called Hawker Hall. It was like Asian style food, and it was really yummy. And oh my God, this pork belly we had was probably the best pork belly I've ever had. I mean, I got a few entrees, these curry puffs and like satay. We were sharing things, satay chicken skewers and curry puffs and you know, old special fried rice. And oh my God, this pork belly, they had like a nice little sauce and lettuce. Like the idea was that you wrapped it in lettuce, like used the lettuce like a taco shell or something. And I swear to God, it was probably the best pork belly I've ever had. It was amazing. It tasted so good. It was probably really bad for you because a typical pork belly, you know, there were squares of it, they're about this high, and about this much of it was fat. But it just kind of dissolved in your mouth. So good. Yes, Belinda, there are a lot of great restaurants in Melbourne. Probably my favorite thing about being here, all the places you can go out to. Doing going out a bit lately with various people trying out places in the city. Because traditionally I don't go out much in the city. There's a bunch of places around in the suburbs around where I live. You know, found half a dozen really good places, so you can always go to one of them. But I've tried a few new places in the actual CBD recently, like with some YouTube friends one weekend, and with Mrs. Angry another weekend, and I had a couple of friends from the States visiting this week, and I showed them a couple of places as an excuse to go out again. Yes, definitely a big plus about Melbourne. All places you can go out to. Yes, I've seen that before. Tendai, taco cat spelled backwards is taco cat. It is in fact a palindrome. Isn't it weird? It's one of those words. It's kind of like how the word phonetic isn't phonetic. And why isn't the word for what we call a palindrome a palindrome? You reckon they would have sorted that out? Of course, the fun palindromes are ones that make a sentence or a sort of sentence. Madam, I'm Adam, or a man, a plan, Panama, are a couple I know. And I know there are some long ones. I saw this ridiculous thing. Someone used a computer algorithm to make the longest palindrome possible in the English language. I thought, oh, this is going to be cool. And it wasn't, because it was just a collection of words that didn't make any sense together. And yes, this chain of words, and I forget how long it was spelt the same forwards as backwards. But to me, that's not a palindrome. And implicit part of a palindrome is it makes sense. If someone's going, no, the definition is just the same forwards and backwards, it's like, yeah, that's the old obeying the letter of the law but not the spirit. I'm not really down that. So Charlie, and amordnlap is a word that spells a different word backwards. I see what you did then. Did you make that up, or is that real? Because that's, of course, palindrome spelt backwards. Oh, you're pretty clever. But now I always feel like, not almost, I do feel like I'm going to look it up. What is the longest palindrome? But ooh, that's interesting. The longest palindromic word, okay, that's just a word, in the Oxford English Dictionary is the onomatopoeic tataratat, coined by James Joyce in Ulysses, for a knock on the door. So that's an invented word, invented by James Joyce in his notoriously weird Ulysses, and he's just made the noise of knocking on the door a word, tataratat. So what's the best palindrome? Ooh, okay. That's the one I knew. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. Ooh, and a longer version of the other one. I said Madam, I'm Adam, because Madam, I'm Adam is a palindrome, but you can do a longer word. Madam in Eden, I'm Adam. There you go. That's an even longer one. Ooh, I like this one. Mr. Owl ate my metal worm. I just like the idea of there being a Mr. Owl who eats metal worms and someone who has metal worms, honestly. And a Christmas one. A Santa lived as a devil at NASA. There you go. And do geese see God? That's a good one. Do geese see God? That's a question we should all be asking. Well, Tendo, that's a good one. Race car spelled backwards is race car. Yes. And that's not cheating. That's a real word. This way, everyone always asks, no one has asked. This is a new beverage. As laugh, I was in a candy store. Yeah, and they had jelly bellies, you know, the exotic flavored jelly beans. And rather than getting them randomly, they had whole trays of the same flavor, so you could just get the flavors you wanted. And so I got a few to make drinks. This is it's lemonade with I think it was strawberry cheesecake jelly bellies dissolved into vermouth. Luke, you only ask when it looks like piss. A disturbing number of my drinks are yellow or orange and end up looking a bit like I'm drinking a urine sample. But it's incredibly sweet, as you might guess, from it being from Jelly Bellies, and also because vermouth is comparatively low alcohol as well. Wrestling days, how you doing, Big Pat? I just saw you said geese are demons. I side with you completely on that. Geese are weird and scary and violent creatures, and not to be messed with. Don't like them at all. So, although there's always people bring up the thing about they can break your arm. Not that I take everything they say as faultlessly true, but QI did debunk that idea that geese or swans can break your arm with their wings. It's been disproven. They do not have the strength to do that. And if someone's ever broken their arm after a swan or goose attack, it would be because they've fallen over and you know, stuck their arm out as they fell and the shock broke their arm. I was talking about geese and their teeth. No, Tendai, in Queensland, it's actually relatively popular to have geese as guard animals, and it's for two reasons. One, you have them in the backyard, and if someone is trying to burgle your house and climbs in through your backyard, the geese will make a lot of noise, like they're quite a good burglar alarm. But if the noise alone doesn't scare off the would-be burglar, the geese will go them. Geese are really territorial. A geese will attack them, and they have bite, and they will give you a nasty bite. Like, it will fucking hurt if a goose bites you. So no, in Queensland, I know of, geese are relatively popular as guard animals. But yeah, I like that, Purori. Tell me about the geese, Clarice. As in, like, instead of Silence of the Lambs, it would be like Cacophony of the Geese. Tell me about the geese, Clarice. If you solve the murder, do you think the geese will start honking again? Does the silence of the geese haunt you, Clarice? Yes. Yes, Belinda. Geese attack all year round. They're not seasonal like magpies. I was kind of happy. There are a lot of magpies in my neighborhood, but they all seem quite friendly. And in off season, I always made a point of them. The magpies are hopping around, of being friendly to them, so they wouldn't remember me as someone they dislike when it was swooping season. Yes, so I've walked through the park and stuff around here and just around the neighborhood where there are lots of magpies, and they didn't swoop, they didn't attack me. Mind you, I kind of wanted them to, because then I wanted to take a video and get a slow-mo of the swoopy, and they didn't ever actually come off. Oh, look, I haven't seen a pelican attack in real life. I have seen it like on TV, like on a nature show. And because pelicans are relatively large birds, and being attacked by an angry pelican would be really thing. This is my favorite thing, when a brain dead fucking piece of shit goes, "Why did you block me?" You fucking know why you got blocked, you worthless, sniveling fucking shit stain. Jesus Christ, worthless fucking cunts who don't even know exist. Come and go, "I want to start a fight. I want to fuck off, moron. Oh, hi, Philly and Sealer. Hello, how you doing? How dangerous are ostriches? I don't know. I mean, ostriches are obviously very large, so if you piss off an ostrich, you're in trouble. And emus are very large, but I don't think emus are very hostile. But just their size can be really off-putting. But yeah, cassowaries, the dinosaur murder birds, they are frightening. For those who've never seen a cassowary, look them up. You know now, yeah, the most recent scientist is the various birds, direct descendants of the dinosaurs. You know, we used to think that birds were evolved a long way from dinosaurs, but they're actually much closer than we used to think, because we don't think of birds as dinosaurs. But fucking cassowaries, they've got this weird horn on their head, and they can be very aggressive and territorial. Someone wants lots of attention. Yeah, AgroPixie, I'd always had the impression emus are gentle, but their size is really off-putting. And that huge beak of theirs feels like it could do damage. But this is really funny. And when you tell people this, they think you're bullshitting. They think you're making it up. But if you're in the bush in Australia and there are some wild emus, they'll probably not want to come near you. They'll probably be really dubious of you. But if you want them to come over where you... it's so demanding. If you want them to come over where you are, you lie on your back and put your legs up in the air and then move your legs like you're riding a bicycle. Do this bicycle riding motion with your legs. And the emus are incredibly inquisitive, and they'll go, "The fuck is that?" And they will come over to check out what you're doing. And it's so funny telling... I mean, because that honestly sounds like you're just setting up a tourist if you say that. Oh, if you want the emus to come over, lie on your back and then move your legs in the air like you're riding a bike. It's like, no, you're just trying to make me do something stupid. But there are videos of it on YouTube, and it's completely weird, but it absolutely works. The emus are just incredibly inquisitive animals, and for some reason, this particular thing, lying on your back and moving your legs in the air, God, you just want so much attention. Lying on your back and moving your legs in the air will really encourage them to come over and check you out, because they're just incredibly curious birdies. Yeah, Luke, if you stop, they tend to go away because they're a bit dubious of humans, probably for good reason. Oh my God. Yeah, Megalithurian Wildlife Park, where you could feed the animals And when he tried to feed a female ostrich, the male, she's headbutting me, more attention. The male tried to bite. Yeah, that's probably a territorial thing. Yeah. Oh, that's a bit of fun, Musical Eddie. You went to look up emus and the top picture was emus mating. That's something I haven't had the privilege to see. So, you know, you got one up on me there. Not really seen emus mating. She so wants attention. Oh my God. It's like Mrs. Angry is food lady. She always bugs Mrs. Angry to get fed. But I'm like cuddles and scratches man. She wants that attention from me, and she'll sleep next to me most nights. Whereas Mrs. Angry doesn't let her sleep on her side. We'll push her off. So she comes around and sleeps next to me on the bed. So we each have our roles to fill so far as Mimsy is concerned. Oh my God. Also, for those, we haven't even really talked about what I put as the title of this live stream. For those who haven't heard of Gavin McInnes and the Proud Boys, Gavin McInnes is a fascist piece of shit. He was actually one of the founders of the Vice Entertainment Network. He left Vice years ago. I think he made a big packet of money out of Vice and he left. And he's turned out to be quite the fascist. And he started a group they call the Proud Boys. It's men only, and it's very macho, right-wing men. And they're just very manly men, and they spend a lot of time talking about what manly men they are. And they are an inherently violent fascist group. And even like, you know, one of the tiers of their membership, you can only go up a tier in their secret little lad society. You know, if you punch a lefty, if you get involved in a fight, in a protest. So it's actually written into the structure of this mob that they are inherently violent. It's recently come out that very slowly law enforcement in the US has started to understand that one of the most severe risks in the US is extreme right-wing, white nationalist and racist groups. They've been responsible for far more deaths and terror attacks since 9/11 than Islamic extremists. Oh God, that was off-putting. I'm sure you heard that. Mimsy heard it. That would be just outside shadow fighting with a neighbor cat, although they're not even necessarily fighting face to face. One night there was the constant, like the cat's really fighting. I thought, oh, I better go and break this up. And what it was is it was Mimsy and this neighbor cat, but they are on opposite sides of the cat door, and they're just yowling at each other and sort of batting at the cat door, but they're not actually fighting. They've got this barrier between them, but they're both making all this noise as if they're fighting. And I had to laugh because it just reminded me of an internet fight. You've sorted shit out, Mimsy? It's all good? Yes? You've sorted it out? It's all good now? Yes? She's still a bit alert. She's still a bit alert. But yeah, it just made me think of internet fights, all posture and show, and nothing ever happening. That was a distraction. Talking about the Proud Boys. Oh yes, Biori, that was the thing he famously did on a podcast or a live stage thing or something. Said he wasn't homophobic and proved it by sticking a butt plug up his butt. And was like, okay, dude, sure. Okay. It's super weird. Yes, musical aviator. The other thing about Gavin McInnes is he wants to travel to Australia. Now, it's just come out in the last week or so that the FBI is apparently officially regarding the Proud Boys as a violent extremist group, which is the most basic interpretation of what they are. And so this thing came out, a video came out, and it sounds like it's some sort of bullshit. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. These weird racists who pop up and say, oh, what about black on black crimes? Dude, you don't actually fucking care. Shut the fuck up trying to make arguments with points that you don't actually care about. It's like I absolutely refuse to waste time on people who argue in bad faith. It's like, motherfucker, if you're arguing a thing you don't even believe, that you don't care about, fuck off. I'm not wasting any time at all on you. But yeah, sorry, going in circles. Gavin McInnes, yes, with the news that the FBI have identified the Proud Boys as a violent extremist group, and some of them are on trial, he made this video where he said, oh, I resign, you know, I'm not associated with the Proud Boys. If it's going to affect their trial, you say, I was never the leader, I was just the founder, blah, 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 blah. And at first it seemed like, God, you're weak as piss, mate. It's like as soon as you hear the news that the FBI is basically regarding you as terrorist, you go, oh, I'm not in that anymore. But it actually seems a bit more like he just thinks he's funny. It's like, because some of his sad fuck thug followers are on trial for violent thuggish attacks. And I don't know, Legal Things said something like, because all the references to Proud Boys have him saying stuff about violence, he's going, oh, so I'm not leading the Proud Boys anymore. Which, as a few people have pointed out, is farcical. It's like, you know, a mob boss, when they find out the FBI has been investigating their crime activity, a mob boss publicly going, yeah, I'm not in the mob anymore. So, yeah, you can just forget about all that stuff because, yeah, I used to be a very active part of that crime family, but I'm definitely not anymore. But he's such a fucking guy. Like the other funny thing, like I said about some of them being on trial, one of his, it's just this really sad see-through macho posturing. One of his big rants, like, we're like the Spartans, we never retreat. Like they were talking, he was basically talking up, they were going to a protest to instigate violence and they weren't going to back down because they're like the Spartans and they never surrender. And then when incredibly belatedly, a bunch of them were arrested for, well, a bunch of them were identified from video of some incredibly violent attacks in New York. He actually talked them into surrendering themselves. Like after saying, we never surrender, as soon as there was any pressure at all, because he was trying to deflect heat from the Proud Boys generally. So the half dozen who were caught on video, he coerced them into surrendering. It's like the slightest bit of pressure and he folds. I mean, you know, it's bizarre because it's like what the teachers at school always told you about bullies, that, you know, they're cowards. And it's just like, you know, we never surrender. Oh, up until there's something to surrender for, then to take the heat off me, all you guys need to go and surrender. And oh, I'm a proud boy. I'm so proud. Oh, until the FBI says they're investigating this as a violent extremist group, then I'm nothing to do with it. It's just like fucking pathetic. Like I said, I strongly suspect at some point he's going to come out and say, oh, I never meant that. That was a ruse. And you noobs on the left fell for it. I would never desert the Proud Boys because I'm a boy who's proud. And it's just like these fucking loser filth. you know, they argue in bad faith. They're two-faced cowards. And yeah, he was talking about coming to Australia, and the government won't come out and say whether or not he's been granted a visa. I don't usually join in with, oh, ban that person from coming to Australia, because there is a thing the government can exercise, and they exercise it on a whim and quite inconsistently. They can apply a character test to someone who wants to come to Australia and deny them entry. And I mean, among the people it's famously happened to, it happened to Snoop Dogg. I think he's not the only rapper it happened to, but a couple of times rappers who'd had felony convictions had been refused entry to Australia. And like recently, Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux, and a lot of people saying, oh, they're horrible and racist and promoting racism, ban them from Australia. And I was not that enthused about that campaign, because I just thought, well, they're fuckwits, you know. If you're going to stop fuckwits from coming into the country, no one's going to be allowed in. But there's supposedly going to be an event that had both Gavin McInnes and what's his real name? Stephen Yaxley Lennon, for some reason likes to call himself Tommy Robertson. Very much they should be denied entry, because they've both got a history of violence. They're both regularly instigating violence, whipping up violence, whipping up violent hatred. Both of them, McInnes and Yaxley Lennon, should absolutely be denied entry to Australia, because they actively advocate for violence. So, and they have a criminal violent history. Luke, was it Eminem too? I'm not sure. Eminem. Let's consult the Google Oracle. Eminem and Australia. See if that comes up. Australia wants to ban Eminem. Okay. This is back in 2001. So we've got to see if he actually was. I just found a list of rappers that were banned from various countries. Apparently, 50 Cent was banned from Canada. It's an interesting one, because yeah, he had a violent criminal past. If I remember, it's another one, remake his image. Say Jay-Z was banned from China. Yeah, I wouldn't really take that too hard, getting banned from China. So Snoop Dogg was not just banned from Australia, he was also banned from the UK and Norway. Wow. There's a few places he can't get on his post book. Okay, two I've never heard of, Cameron and Vardo, banned from Canada. MF Doom banned from the US. That's an interesting one. Never heard of him. Where's he from? Okay, he's a Londoner. Okay. The Game was banned from Canada. Oh, Canada's really into banning rappers. And MIA was banned from leaving the US. Oh, that seemed to be a custody battle. That's a weird one. Whacker Flame banned from Australia. There you go. Australia gets another look in. Tyler, the Creator, banned from Australia. Wow. Okay. I didn't know Tyler, the Creator, got banned. But no, apparently not Eminem, because I think he would have been on that list if he had got banned. There was definitely, Peter Slipper wanted to ban him. Yeah. Bobo, you think Eminem might have been banned at one point because he was with Snoop Dogg, but then was allowed himself under strict conditions? Yeah, well, there was definitely someone who wanted him banned, but I don't think it ultimately went ahead. Tendai, is Canada banning all the rappers to protect its own rap industry? I don't know. The Canadian rap industry, is that a big thing? I guess it is. It is everywhere. Because, yeah, apparently it regularly surprises people if I talk about Australian hip-hop. But Australian hip-hop's quite big. It's quite big in Australia. And there are some very good acts here. It's weird because it's so dominated by white guys. It's starting to get a few more artists of variety in Australia than just white guys. A few more women, a few more people of colour, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. But there is some very good hip-hop in Australia. Yes, that's right, Luke. The Hilltop Hoods, Adelaide boys. And yeah, I have to admit, I'm a big fan of the Hilltop Hoods. I like those. And this is also a good question. Have Aussie rappers been banned from other countries? I don't know. There are a few reasons you can get banned, like if you had drug charges and whatnot. So I don't know if there's been any high-profile cases of Australian rappers getting banned from other countries. Yeah. So what do I think of the New South Wales lockout laws? They're fucking ridiculous because they've been applied stupidly and unevenly, unfairly. You know, they've killed a huge number of businesses. I mean, look, there is an issue, and I think there needed to be a bit more clarity when you want to know, like, you know, how serious is alcohol-fueled violence. It's pretty serious. Talk to the people who work in emergency services, ambulance drivers, and people who work casualty in hospitals, particularly on weekends. Their life's a friggin' nightmare because of alcohol-fueled violence. And I think a lot of the people who work in emergency services, at least at first, were happy about the lockout laws in New South Wales. I have not heard recently, like if people from emergency services come out and said, look, okay, for the lockout laws, we had this many victims of assault coming in a night, and now today we have this many fewer. I would like to know if there was proper statistical evidence on that, actually. Yes, musically aviator. We do the opposite in Victoria. The New South Wales shut down the venues at 1. When the actual lockout happens at like 10 o'clock or something, doesn't it? You're not allowed to enter a venue after 10 p.m. Yes, but yeah, Daniel Andrews brought in 24-hour public transport on the weekends, which is fantastic. Safi, you're right that alcohol does affect different people differently. Well, it's a disinhibitor and it's a depressant. So people who have issues because alcohol's a disinhibitor, if someone has violent tendencies, they can get particularly violent. But if someone's quite introspective, alcohol will tend to make them more introspective. Like if someone's prone to depression, alcohol won't help. Alcohol, it might deaden your feelings about stuff, but you'll just sink into worse depression. So there's the whole thing, like, you know, particularly when rapists' big defense is, oh, I was drunk, don't blame me. It's like, alcohol does not turn you into something you're not. It's a disinhibitor. So it can make you more likely to do things that you always wanted to do, but it doesn't turn you into someone you're not. It's just the way it works. So Big Pat, next YouTube meetup, I don't know. I was talking to some of the admins and the Facebook group for YouTubers, about how we should try and do a really big event, try and convince people to travel, you know, question of what city to do it in, and, you know, try and get a really big group of people together to have a bit of fun. So that might happen soon. But failing that, locally, we'll probably have a YouTube meetup mid-December, like get one in before Christmas. Yes, I thought you wanted attention. So, yes. Had a little mini YouTube meetup. I was saying, went out with some friends from the US, these sort of OG YouTubers from way, way back in the day. Mike and Rich. I first met Mike like over 10 years ago. I went to San Francisco for a YouTube thing. As the second time I've caught up with Mike and Rich when they were visiting Australia. They seem to go on a lot of holidays. Good for them. But yes, I like actually getting together with people that I met through YouTube or the internet generally. It's fun. Also, but yes, we were speaking about the emails. I'm surprised no one brought up the emu war before, which is a real thing. It's so much fun telling people about it. We jokingly call it the emu war. What actually happened is, over in Western Australia, farmers were convinced, because of a drought, emus were coming in and ruining their crops. And they asked for help from the government. And someone had the great idea of bringing in the army to shoot the emus, which, you know, on the surface, that sounds like it makes sense. It's like, yeah, okay, the army has guns, you can shoot emus, we could thin the numbers out by shooting them. So it was just a clusterfuck. Like, apparently, yeah, the first time they shot, there's a bunch of emus, and surprisingly, the emus didn't stand still to be shot, and so they hardly got any of them. And then they tried with machine guns, they got a couple more, and then they tried chasing them down. They like had a mounted gun on an armored vehicle, and they're sort of going cross country trying to chase the emus, and but they fucked up the vehicle. And so it's like when they eventually gave up, they had only killed a handful of the emus, and it was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I was able to get the synopsis from Wikipedia. So it was just ridiculous. It obviously wasn't really a war, but it's actually listed on Wikipedia as a war, and they actually report it like they do the war things. The participant were the emus and the Royal Australian Artillery. Outcome: failure. Emu population persists. So yeah, so this was in 1932. Yeah, so they had Lewis guns, machine guns, 10,000 rounds of ammunition, but then rain, so the emus buggered off. Oh, that was the other funny thing. There's elite division in the army, the light horsemen, used emu feathers in their hat. So they were going to collect the feathers from these emus they shot. So the saying on 2nd November sighted 50 emus, but they were out of range. They tried to herd the emus towards the guns, but the birds were having none of that and split up. One fusillade from the machine guns was ineffective because of range. Second round, they killed a couple of them. Found a few more, killed maybe a dozen more. Then on the 4th of November, they set up an ambush for the emus. And so there's 1,000 emus coming towards them. So this seems like the big thing, right? 1,000 emus coming. They wait till they're in range. Wait. They're in range. And they opened fire, but the guns jammed. So they'd only killed about 12 out of 1,000. and then their guns jammed, and the birds all buggered off. And so they kept trying to get them, and every time they found them, they would scatter. They tried to mount one on a truck, like I said, and the birds were faster than the truck, and the road was so rough that the gunner couldn't actually fire. And so 6 days after they started, they fired 2,500 rounds and killed about 50 birds. Or if you believe some other people, maybe a couple hundred. But the soldiers were pleased that they suffered no casualties. And then there was a second attempt. The farmer said, no, we really need your help. So 13th November 1932, they had a bit of success, killed about 40 emus. They hit their rhythm. This is like the army is the success. They're only managing to kill about 100 emus a week, and then they're claiming to have killed about 1,000. And apparently in subsequent years, the farmers asked for military help again, and the government said, fuck off. There's no, it's too difficult and too embarrassing, and we're not doing it again. So Tendo, that is a good point. War with cassowaries would be scary as hell, because I feel like the emus won by scattering and running away. I think the cassowaries would run straight at you, which would be very, very disturbing. But yes. So Kentucky Fried Emu. Look, apparently emu's good eating. Don't think I've had emu. It's every now and then I see it in the supermarket, because they're at like emu farms, because there is a market for emu leather and emu oil and emu feathers and emu meat. I don't think I tried, because when I was in Darwin, you can get all this exotic meat from the food trucks, and there would be emu and kangaroo and water buffalo and crocodile, probably one or two other things that are relatively weird. Charlie, you heard emu is really tough. Probably depends on how it's prepared, and also how the bird was raised. I tried most of these. I think I did try emu, but there was nothing I really liked out of all this local exotic meats. And I mean, like kangaroo, which is now, it's relatively common in the supermarkets here. Kangaroo meat is very red, very lean, very red meat. Last time I had it, it's too gamey. It's got a very strong flavor that I'm just not into. Some people really like emu. Like I said, it's kangaroo meat is like healthier than beef and stuff. Very, very lean meat. So if I had snake, no, I don't think I've been anywhere that served snake either. I know various snakes are regarded as good eaten, but I haven't had. I go picture you like crocodile and kangaroo. Look, the crocodile I had was probably badly prepared. It was like a kebab, and it was a bit rubbery. So maybe properly prepared, I'd like it. And also possibly, yeah, it's a long time since I tried kangaroo. Maybe my tastes have changed. Maybe I like kangaroo. Oh, Megalich, you like eel. That's it. It's quite common in Chinese restaurants, eel, unagi in Japanese. Psychologically, I have trouble with the idea of eating eel. Yeah, I know it's obviously very popular. Unagi is used a lot in Japanese and in different Asian cooking. But yeah, I have something that's in my mind about eels. It's just psychological, which is stupid because it's just another aquatic animal, and I eat various things that come out at sea. Like okay, this is a funny thing because I eat like squid and octopus now, and in my youth I never would have that would have just seemed super gross to eat squid or octopus, but I mean, depending how it's prepared, but I quite like squid and octopus. So the idea of not eating eel is very weird and arbitrary, and maybe I should try it. But yes, it is an incredibly arbitrary thing that I just think like, I don't want to eat eel. That seems wrong and gross. Yes, I like lobster. I like most crustaceans to varying degrees. I like crab, but it's kind of difficult to eat. I like prawn, shrimp, and those type of things more than I used to. And the other crustacean I like is the ones that are variously called bugs, and they have different names depending on where they are. I know in Sydney they have Balmain bugs. Down this part of the world they have Moreton Bay bugs. Saf, would I live under the sea? They sing that song that Ariel sings. No, well, Ariel doesn't sing it, does she? The lobster sings it. But I like lobster, which I guess is a bit of a cliche because that's meant to be like gourmet food, but I do like lobster. Blender crocodile. We're just mentioning it. I have tried crocodile and I didn't like it, but it was possibly poorly prepared crocodile. So I don't know, maybe properly prepared, I'd like it. I just remember it being rubbery and not tasting very nice. But yeah, I tried all this. I tried to try. So I reckon I did have kangaroo and emu and crocodile. I remember crocodile was in like it. Pretty sure I tried water buffalo as well. Camel. I knew there was something else because there is a lot of wild camels and wild water buffaloes, introduced animals in the Northern Territory, and so you can get their meat as well. So what do I think about yabbies? Again, properly prepared yabbies, very yummy. I like. There's like you sort of get that graduation from the little shrimp to larger prawns, king prawns, and then yabbies and lobsters. They're sort of like all related along that chain. I like the bigger ones more than the smaller ones. I like lobsters the most, and maybe yabbies second, and the swamp thing. I think you had pet yabbies as a kid. When I was a kid, we used to go yabbying. We didn't call it yabby fishing; it was yabbying, because I don't know if they deliberately stock them or it just ends up that way. But often farms around town would have dams, and there would be yabbies in the dam. And I don't know if they sort of deliberately populated them with yabbies or it just ended up that way. And so the basic way to catch yabbies, or the way we did it, is because yabbies are meat eaters and they're scavengers. You get a bit of meat and tie a string to it, like no hook or anything, just the meat tied to string, and throw it into the dam and drag it slowly across the bottom and hope it attracts a yabby's attention. And the yabby will grab a hold of it with its claws and start munching. And when you feel that the yabby's got a hold of it, you very slowly pull it in, because the idea is you slowly pull it towards yourself and the yabby will come with it. But if you pull too sharply, the yabby will let go. And the thing is, you get it as close to the surface as you can. If it breaks the surface, it'll let go. So you have to have a net and you pull it close to the surface as you can, and then whip the net under it and try and catch it. This is quite fun and bizarre, but yes, it's a weird thing. Oh, something about that, it just doesn't sound right, Feeler and Sealer. wombat on a spit. Wombat seem too nice. That wombat on a spit, that's like cat or dog on spit to me. Wombats are too nice and cute. Actually, wombats can be really aggressive and violent, but psychologically, I can't get around eating wombat. Belinda, you don't want to eat a spider. Apparently, to Australia's north, Malaysia, they have these big tarantulas that are quite a delicacy. I remember when my kids were quite young, went with them on a school excursion to an insectorium. This guy who loved his work telling kids about bugs. And among the many things he had mounted stuffed Malaysian tarantulas. It's huge. It's like this big under glass. And he told the stories in Malaysia. People encourage them into the house because they eat bugs. They eat flies and mosquitoes. So they encourage these big tarantulas to live in their house because they'll eat the bugs. But also because there's a lot of bugs in the house, the tarantulas will be very well fed. They'll be big and fat. And so when the tarantulas reach a certain size, they'll catch them and eat them. Like, I don't know if they just put them in a pot or they fry them or whatever, but they'll catch them and eat them. And when they get big, there's a lot of meat on them. And because spiders are quite closely related to crabs, like I think genetically they're more closely related to crabs than they are to insects. But yeah, apparently there's good eating on the tarantula. And the fun little thing he added, because the tarantulas have really big fangs, they said they like to, with a sharp hit, they like to break the fangs off and use them as toothpicks. And all the kids are going, ew. I thought he really liked his job. Matthias, you're saying you had lime and chili crocodile sausage and it was great. That does sound interesting, certainly. Yeah, I'm not in a huge rush to eat crocodile again, but, you know, maybe because it actually does sometimes appear on the supermarket shelf, you know, limited edition gourmet thing. Yeah, I'm not in a huge rush. And yeah, I occasionally think I should try kangaroo meat again because maybe my tastes have matured and I'd like kangaroo meat better than last time I had it. But I just don't know. What's that you're saying, Mimsy? Okay. Oh, yeah. I'm with you, Charlie. Huntsmen are our friends. You shouldn't kill them. Although they freak people out. So if I get one in the house, I usually try and catch it and put it outside so no one freaks out and kills it because they're freaked out. And it's not the huntsman's fault. They're big and hairy and scary looking. Should I make another drink? I think I should. I need some ice. Foist up. Did I say before about my legs not working? Because they don't. Jägermeister. It is. Hooly dooly. Okay. Settling doon. Matthias, your local butcher has emu, kangaroo, and possum sausages. See, again, it's one of those silly human emotional reactions. But yeah, I just regard possums as cute. So I'd have trouble eating possum meat. Although, as I know, the Indigenous Australians, possum was a big part of the diet. But I'm doing that silly emotional human thing and thinking I'd have trouble eating possum. I'm not doing Jaeger bombs. I'm going to mix some. You want attention again? You like headbutting me as I just put my arm down there. All right, I will pat you again. I'm sure that's what keeps the audience happy anyway. You getting Luke, will I still be doing YouTube when I'm older? Who knows? I mean, there have been quite a few much older YouTubers over the years. You know, some who've died of old age, in fact. So yeah, you know, maybe I'd love to be the grumpy old man just making you kids get off my lawn videos. But maybe. Safa, do I like cricket? I used to watch the cricket a lot when I was younger, but I'm not into sport at all. Um, so I like through the 80s, probably even into the 90s, I used to know all the cricketers' names and what's going on. These days, for real, I wouldn't know anyone who's in the Australian team. I just didn't keep track of it. I don't watch it. So I'm not into cricket at all. Blender, yes, it's on pay TV, but I have pay TV. So yeah. Oh my God, Matthias, you lost interest in sport when you gave up drinking. That's like a moment of realization. You go to watch it sober and go, wait, this is boring. I only liked this because I was drunk. Oh my God, how did I never realize sport is boring? Oh, maybe I shouldn't laugh, but that actually seems funny to me that you came to that realization that when you're sober, you don't enjoy sport at all. I had a friend who had to cancel a catch-up because he threw his back out at the gym, exacerbated an old injury, and was like bedridden in terrible pain. And I went, see, that's why I don't indulge in physical activity, okay? Because it hurts you. It absolutely hurts you. Tendo, you into motorsports? Yeah, I don't watch that either. It's funny because I used to live relatively close to where the Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne is, Albert Park. And when that was on, like the couple of days before when they were doing their practice and time trials and qualifying and whatnot, and then the actual race, you'd hear the cars all day, and it just sounded like mosquitoes. You'd be in the backyard and you hear this, and like the sound carries several suburbs. They are super loud things, those F1 cars. I feel like you're the greatest cricketer in your backyard's history. You played a lot of backyard cricket as a kid, as you do in Australia, and I was terrible at it. Always really bad at any sport. But interestingly enough, I think the most fun sport to play for me was Australian rules football. Growing up, parents made us do soccer, and I played soccer for, I don't know, 10 fucking years or something. Never really liked it, just did it. And then when I was in my senior years of high school, they started up, this is in country New South Wales, they started up a regional regional Australian rules football competition. And my older sister and her husband were like founders of the local club. So I got involved with it. And again, I was never particularly good at it, but it was the most fun of any sport I played. I only got injured a couple times, and I was definitely never a star at it. But of the various sports I played and was forced to play at school, Australian rules football was the most fun to play because it moves pretty fast and there's always something happening. But yeah, I tend to, you vote for basketball over soccer. Again, I played a little bit of basketball, phenomenally bad at it. Like, it was the walking stereotype of a white guy and basketball. Like, so bad at it. So absolutely terrible at basketball. So I didn't enjoy that either. Like I said, it's not that I was good at Australian rules football, or probably had a moment or two, but I did enjoy it. Oh, Mimsy's going off for a walk, are you? What are you doing? Yes, you're going to explore. Fair enough. You've been with us for most of an hour and a half. That's okay. Ah, Luke, you're in a 10-pin bowling league. See, I can see that being fun. Again, I am not particularly good at 10-pin bowling. To be more accurate, I'm quite bad at it. But I can see that being fun, being part of a league and playing it every week. I can see that being fun. Yeah, I'm just not particularly close to a 10. That's my excuse for not leaving the house. I'm not close enough. There'd probably be a 10-pin bowling thing next door, and I still wouldn't go because I am very lazy. There's no getting around that. Yes, I do very little in the way of physical activity. You know, walk sometimes. That's about it. See, Matthias, okay, you used to choose 10-pin bowling in high school. We didn't have 10-pin bowling where I grew up, although maybe would have got into it if it was being available. It simply speaking wasn't available. So although there is a 10-pin bowling in my hometown now, there just wasn't when I was growing up. I did love, because I don't know what it is, but you know, it's like there's the conservative people in town. Don't knock over my booze, Mimsy. What are you doing? You're too rowdy. The conservative people in town thinking like, ooh, there's a bunch of miscreants and ne'er-do-wells at the 10-pin bowling thing. So, I mean, to combat the image that it was like young layabout people and they're on the booze and the drugs, they put up a sign on the door of the bowling alley that said no alcohol or drugs allowed. And I thought, okay, the alcohol's one thing, but the drugs aren't allowed anywhere. Like, putting up a sign saying you're not allowed to have drugs in here is superfluous, because you're not allowed to have drugs anyway. So I always found that sign really funny. It's like, oh no, we're putting our foot down. You can't do drugs here. And, well, dude, you can't do drugs anywhere. You don't need a sign to say you can't do drugs. And then if someone does drugs, go, oh, you broke the rules, you have to go. So even without the sign, if someone's doing drugs, you could get rid of them and call the cops or whatever, because you're not allowed to do the drugs. But yes. Also, after you start playing AFL in Country Victoria League, see if you enjoy it, because I thought it was good fun. Felix Healer, I remember that movie, White Men Can't Jump. Yes, the young Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. What are you saying? White men can't jump, black men can't swim. Traditionally, this is the interesting thing. Like in America, they notice how black people never competed at higher levels in swimming. They competed in a lot of sports, but not swimming. And then there's a few people pointed out, well, white people, you should not be really smug about that, because a very big reason you didn't have any or many black swimming athletes in America is because of the number of swimming venues that until extremely recently just banned black people from going in the pools. So that would be why you don't have a history of black swimming athletes, because you did have a history of actually stopping black people from using swimming pools. So, I'm with you, Matthias. Almost every bowling alley I know of serves booze. But yes, this one in my little country town, they're all very conservative. It's like video arcades were renowned as being dens of iniquity. I grew up with video arcades, and they always had a bad reputation. But yes. Tendai, you're going to disprove the black men can't ski. I think if you have to actually go out and buy the skiing gear, yeah, you're starting behind the 8 ball. It takes a little while to get anywhere. But yes, hey Candy, how are you? Is that literally, is that Candy Hog? Is that like a Halloween reference? You hog all the candy at Halloween? I don't know. Be that. So for the whole world's still super racist. Everyone has a problem with someone else. But yes, I get what you're saying. Probably the most disturbing thing in the US, the double barrel thing, the number of unarmed black people being killed by cops, and then this weird thing of white people calling the cops on black people just because black people make them nervous. It's very strange. So, and Australia, there's no way Australia can hold their head up in this, particularly with the current hyperbole that the conservative politicians and media are pushing, trying to blow out of all proportion. Oh, and particularly in Melbourne, saying, "Oh God, those African crime gangs, they're out of control." It's like, yeah, there have been a range of incidents that are bad and need to be dealt with, but the people trying to blow them out of all proportion. It's like there have been a couple recently, like, oh, you called it on these kids in the park or the kids on the beach, and it's like, wow, you think when teenagers have a party they get loud? That's a new and radical thing, really, isn't it? Teenagers who have parties get a bit rowdy. It's like, wow, yeah. Luke, you wish Pete Finn would bring back Fat Aussie Bastard. Well, there was, the whole conviction for fraud with the money for the kids' cancer charity. That kind of is an impediment to people accepting him, I think. Yes, there's a variety of things you can do on YouTube and get away with, like, hey, film a dead body in the suicide forest. Even I don't really want to get into it, but I could name a couple of names of YouTubers who were sexual predators or who assaulted people. But yeah, I just think stealing money from a cancer charity, that's a tough one. No, you're right, Fila. Mimsy is nodding like she's listening to music. I actually think her perch is slightly unstable and moves a bit, but it is as if she's nodding to music. She's got quite a rhythmic little head nod going on there. But yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. That may be she's just dozing off and the head's nodding and getting a little lower. Now it's getting a bit more closed, aren't they, Miss Mimsy? Yush. Yush. But she's not averse to another head scratch. Does Mimsy like dubstep? Maybe. I've played a bit of it around the house. She might have got a taste for it. Yes, nobody. You caught the tail end of that. Stealing from a charity is pretty fucked, and it's pretty hard to get people to forgive you for doing that. But yes, there are a lot of misadventures. Like I watched the entire series, like that Shane Dawson's series on what's his face? Now my brain's gone blank. The why did my brain just stop working? Logan Paul. I could remember Jake, and I was thinking, but what's his last name? It's his brother, Logan Paul. The Shane Dawson series on Logan Paul. I did watch all of it. I mean, I have to admit, I did feel like the videos were too long. I don't think they had to be that long, but there were, I don't know, there were one or two interesting revelations in it. There was no, I guess, for me, and this is just a personal thing, and this is not a thing that had to do, but there was no big payoff to it for me. There was some interesting stuff along the way. And it's kind of a fascinating thing that he's done, the way Shane Dawson has basically reinvented himself and started doing different stuff, doing those, you know, like mini documentaries or documentary series on controversial people. You know, hey, more power to him. And, you know, a lot of people hack on him, and it's certain. I'm not suggesting he's flawless or anything, but I thought, oh, he's doing a thing, and there is some considerable effort in what he does, and he's blazing his own trail to an extent, and like, well, yeah, good on him. Yeah, and this is a person who's been on YouTube for a long time, Shane Dawson. But yeah. Oh, no, but you know, the dead body thing wasn't faked. It was real. They really found a dead body. The thing that always did my head in with Jake Paul and the dead bodies, like, so many people had the chance to intervene before that video ever went live. Like, it's not just him and all the people who he was with, that one of them should have gone, this is fucked and you shouldn't do it. But he is a management company. And the way they just let it go, that whole thing was pretty, you know, I can't, did you just notice the kitty? Mimsy, people are noticing you. Okay, vicarious kitty pats. So you can all pretend, you know, I'll pat Mimsy, because everyone likes it when Mimsy's happy. Yeah. She loves the attention. She's an attention seeker. Who is, says the person going on the internet just to talk to people. I shall now spend 2 hours talking to people on the internet about how my cat is an attention seeker. Yeah, I mean, you're right, nobody, in that it's hardly surprising if these really high-profile channels do something stupid and got a lot of attention for it. Some very impressionable and foolish young people will do the same thing or imitate what they see. It's just like, you know, well, yeah. People are stupid, essentially. And when people are desperate for attention and they seem to be unable to tell the difference between positive attention and negative attention, you get people just doing awful and extreme things just for attention, because the attention is an end in itself. And that's not healthy for anyone. And that's a thing that a lot of these channels, particularly with younger people who generate a lot of attention, and they find themselves really in the public eye, and they have to keep pushing the envelope. They get into this spiral where it's like, oh, I did something wild and it got attention, so the next thing I do has to be wilder. And then I have to do something wilder after that. And it's a really unhealthy cycle to get into. But yeah. Candy, am I going to vote for Avi? I actually don't know who we're talking about there. Actually, I have a suspicion who you're talking about, but I'm not sure. Feelers, you may well be right. Mimsy may be running her own Facebook and Instagram, and she might be posting pictures of me sleeping. Well, she's always, not always, but mostly there when I'm sleeping. So she could very much be doing that. And apparently, when I sleep, I can sleep fairly heavily. Like, I've slept through a lot of stuff. I've been told about stuff that happened when I was asleep, and I was like, oh, I didn't hear that. I don't know what's going on. But yeah. There are a couple of things: staying in the store for 24 hours or shipping yourself in the mail. If I remember rightly, the person who posted the video saying they sent themselves via mail, I think they were lying. They staged that. They didn't really do it. But yeah, I actually have seen the videos of someone who decides, like in a huge chain store, they're going to try and stay in there 24 hours. And I think, if I remember right, the store doesn't stay open 24 hours. So at closing time, they hid somewhere and came out again when everyone left the store. Or maybe someone's done it in a store that's open 24 hours. I don't know. But yeah, I know people do that sort of stuff. But even that doesn't bother me. Neither of those particularly bother me. But it's the people who do violent, potentially dangerous things, that's really troubling, because A, they have to keep doing something more outrageous, but B, even if the first people who make the video with some wacky stunt, even if it's carefully staged and they make sure it's safe, they have an audience who's thick as shit, basically, and will imitate them and will do something really dumb and really stupid with no safety precautions, without getting the cooperation of other people in the video. That's not good. Like, I got into a slight argument with some people on Facebook a little while ago. There's a couple of these videos going around, and they're about an internet connected video doorbell thing. I forget what it's called. It might just be called Bell or something. But because particularly in the US, there is a reasonable problem with packages being stolen off people's doorsteps. Getting Amazon packages or whatever, and it's delivered while you're at work, and someone steals it while you're away. I think you're right, Luke. I think it's called the Ring doorbell. It's like there's a video camera, and when they ring, it can be connected to like your smartphone app. So you're at work, you can see who's at your door and all that sort of thing. There's a few videos have been on Facebook of people stealing parcels, getting caught. And these videos are obviously commercials for the app, because they're trying to make it look like someone just posting like, hey, look what happened when this person tried to steal a parcel. But they repeatedly refer to the app by name. Caught by the Ring doorbell app, caught by the Ring. And I'm actually pretty sure that's illegal in most jurisdictions to put something together to intend it to be a commercial for your product and not declare that it's a commercial. They get people to post it as if, hey, look what happened when this person tried to steal my parcel. But it's the way it's listed, they always repeatedly refer to the Ring doorbell, and it's so obviously a fucking ad. And the video may or may not be genuine. It might be staged. It might be genuine video captured by this app of someone trying to steal things, but the whole thing is obviously set up as a viral marketing campaign for this app, and it really pisses me off. And like I said, I'm pretty sure in most jurisdictions it's illegal, that they're not declaring that this is a commercial, and it really pisses me off. Tendai, I saw that a product advertised along the lines of what you're saying. You can get this locker with an electronic lock on it, and apparently it works with because you get a barcode for a delivery, and the electronic lock on this locker that you have by your front door has a scanner on it. So if you're expecting a parcel, you've got the barcode, you scan the barcode in so it'll recognize it, and then when the delivery person comes along with the parcel, they scan the barcode on the parcel, the lock recognizes it and unlocks. They put the parcel in your locker, close it, and put the lock back on. That seems pretty good. Nobody hook up your parcel to $1,000. I mean, I've heard stories that I think are quite funny of people who've had parcels stolen. So they put a box full of dog shit on the front doorstep. So they, oh no, Mimsy wants to leave. She's gone out now. She's departing for the evening, I think. Yeah. So I'm not surprised people want to do something to people who steal parcels. Oh, with regards to if these Ring commercials are fake, what was interesting is someone I've been Facebook friends with for a while posted the video, and I went, yeah, that's probably staged. It's obviously a commercial for the product, and they're not declaring that it's a commercial, and that makes me feel like the whole thing's fake. And then a guy who I didn't recognize responded and said, oh no, I've had to deal with it. Like you're saying, I'm a cop and I've had to deal with that particular guy. He is a known thief in the area. That's genuine. And I just said, well, given that you're a stranger on the internet, I'll take that with a grain of salt. But it doesn't take away from the fact that's obviously a commercial for the product and they're not declaring it. And I think that's bullshit. And then a bunch of people got upset that I was doubting this guy, because it turns out apparently he's the stepson of the person I'm friends with, and he is a cop, and he had dealt with this particular guy and he did recognize him off the video. I was like, cool, I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. I'm saying the people who put this video together are fucking lying. Oh no, but you're going full in. You want a paint bomb in the parcel, so when they open it, get sprayed. I mean, you do something a bit more benign like that, like build a glitter bomb into it. But no, I've heard of people putting all manner of things in parcels that they expect someone to steal. But of course, the danger of that is the blowback. If you do something to get revenge on the parcel thief, someone's going around stealing parcels off people's front door, they're not a very nice person, and they know where you live, and they may be disposed to doing something particularly distasteful to you as a result of that. So the problem with that sort of shit is escalation. And like, if you're the wronged party, I completely understand, like, oh, I want to get fucking revenge on that person. I want to make them pay. I want to do this. I completely understand that. But the problem is escalation. That's why everyone said, like, oh, like the whole thing with carrying guns in the US, particularly concealed carry. It's like, no one's going to rob me. I'm going to pull my gun out. And it's just like, well, the only way that's any weapon, even just unarmed combat, the only way any defense is effective is if you use it first. Like, you don't wait for the person to attack you. Those sorts of defenses only work if you apply massive force before the person does. Like, you go, I'm going to wait for them. Well, what if they've got a knife or a gun? Or what if they just punch really hard? If you're determined that I'm going to, if I consider someone a threat, I'm going to deal with them, the only way to do it safely is to apply massive force before they do anything to you. If you've got a gun, you basically have to shoot them before they do anything threatening, or stab them, or punch the shit out of them. And the trouble is, you're often wrong, and it leads to very bad situations. A lot of people have a completely deluded idea of what happens in a conflict situation, that you're far more likely to be safe if you know how to de-escalate a situation. If your solution to a violent situation is violent defense, you have to apply that violent defense with extreme prejudice, as they say, before the person. You can't wait for the other person to do something. So it regularly gets misapplied and creates very bad situations. You are far more likely to be safe if you've learned how to de-escalate conflict. If your only response is an extreme response, you're not going to de-escalate a situation. You're going to have to do something here. Candy hog, punching Nazis. But that's the thing. It's a premeditated thing. If someone is at a public thing being a fucking Nazi, don't wait for them to throw a punch at you. Knock them the fuck out. It's but that's the thing where it's going, like, yeah, but that's the thing of saying, oh, yeah, that person's doing Nazi shit. You need to take him the fuck out. I did see something that I thought was really funny on Facebook. Someone posting a thing saying, I used to think that using violence against terrible people was a bad thing, but after a few years of this bullshit, all I'm thinking is, like, yep, break a Nazi's arm and they can't Nazi as much after that. It's just like, and which is going to think, this false equivocation, this idea, false equivalence of saying the extreme left is the same as the extreme right. It's bullshit. It's like, Antifa is as bad as the Nazis. No, they're fucking not, okay? Antifa is a defense against the fascists. If Antifa if the fascists go away, you don't have Antifa, okay? If Antifa goes away, you have no one checking the violence of fascists. It's like, when Nazis get out of control, you get the fucking Holocaust. When left-wingers get their extreme results, you get fucking trade unions, weekends and paid holidays, okay? The idea that the two are equivalent is bullshit. Now, unless you're talking on like a state level, like a national level, if someone's a totalitarian, as in someone running a country or someone with an army or whatever, if someone is a totalitarian, it doesn't make a difference whether they shroud themselves as a communist or a fascist. They're a totalitarian. They're a state inflicting violence on their people. I'm talking about just the people, like, you know, we were talking earlier about Gavin McInnes and the Proud Boys. The creepy rise of, hey, look, Candy Hog, we don't want to get into argument about semantic about Nazis. I'm talking about people who currently ascribe to Nazi theology. The people who have swastika tattoos and worship Adolf Hitler and do the Hitler salutes and go Sieg Heil. Arguing the semantics about that is pointless. There are people who are promoting Nazi ideology, that are promoting fucking extermination of non-white races. They praise Hitler. They do the Sieg Heil thing. Getting into the semantics of, well, they're not real Nazis, is pointless. Absolutely pointless. When they're promoting Nazi ideology, when they've got fucking swastika tattoos and worship Hitler, saying, well, they're not real Nazis, it's pointless and meaningless. Whether you want to call them white supremacists, fascists, or Nazis, they're real, and they're an actual real threat. Like, again, in really simple terms, in the US, extreme right-wing terrorists have killed far more people since 9/11 than Islamist terrorists. People are so fucking shit at threat assessment. It's like in Australia, there was a really awful incident just here in Melbourne, where I live, with this fuckwit who, you know, claimed to be inspired by Islamic State, tried to blow up his car in Burke Street Mall, and then started stabbing some people, and unfortunately killed this guy who was a real fucking icon of Melbourne, and the cops shot him. And that's awful. That was just terrible and awful and disgusting. But the people saying, oh, because this guy, he was Muslim and he claimed inspiration from Islamic State, we need to be really tough on Muslims. Going, well, he killed one person. The previous month in Australia, several women were killed every week by their partner or ex-partner. There were more than 60 women this year in Australia have been killed by their current or ex-partner. That is a real, terrible, awful danger. And that's something we should be dealing with. The incredibly rare instance of, you know, the terrorist attack is a bad thing and needs to be fought, and people who are part of that shit need to be put away, definitely. But the same people who want to judge all Muslims because these occasional fuckwits pop up, they don't want to do a goddamn thing about endemic violence in our society that's killing people, you know, multiple times a week. It's absolutely ridiculous. Frankie, you made it for the last couple of minutes. Musical area better. Trolley Man. Was Trolley Man good or bad? The trouble with Trolley Man is what he did was extremely high risk and actually placed the police at more risk. Because when the police are trying to deal with someone, if you jump into the middle of it, you're actually making life more difficult for the police. You're introducing another random element that they have to allow for. So while, you know, Trolley Man's heart was clearly in the right place, and while it's impossible to say conclusively if he helped or harmed, doing that sort of thing generally when the police are there is very ill-advised, because you're making the situation more unstable and more unpredictable, and you're making it more difficult for the police to handle it. Yeah, you know, it's hard to be mad at Trolley Guy because like his heart was clearly in the right place, but it's not a very smart thing to do when the police are there. If the police weren't there, it would be an act of some nobility to protect other bystanders until the police got there. But when the police are there, it's introducing too much risk into the situation. It's not a good thing to do. Oh, Frankie, you okay. Article 13, that's an interesting thing to go out on. The European law known as Article 13, they think that the big technology companies have been profiting off illegal distribution of you know, music, film, etc. And there is an element of truth to it. You put the thing saying YouTube wrong. I don't think YouTube's completely wrong. Honestly, I'm not going to say anything all-encompassing because I haven't put a lot of research into it. But leaving YouTube out of it, leaving Google out of it, because I don't think YouTube, Google, or Facebook or Apple are particularly trustworthy at all. But some other people who I do have a fair amount of respect for, intelligent people and creative people who have put a lot of work into the area of the internet and licensing of works and how creators and artists can make money in the modern age. And they've called out Article 13 as being bad, counterproductive, that it won't help artists and creators at all, that it will only benefit large media companies, because some people, yeah, I will go with, like I said, there's some people whose work and opinions I respect who've come out very clearly against Article 13. And like I said, I'm with you in not trusting when YouTube says this is a bad thing, when Google says this is a bad thing, when Facebook says this is a bad thing, because they do make money off other people's work and it's not always fair. But there's a number of people who I do respect. They're like independent creators and they're very big on technology and law, and they've looked at it and gone, no, the EU is fucking up with this. It's not a good thing. Bye, Feeler and Sealer. Oh, yes, I'm going to go too. Final swig. And I will say thank you one and all for joining me. It has, as usual, been wonderful to have your company. 2 hours flies by with such good company. So I hope you all look after yourselves. Now, because I've been socializing madly in the last week, I've hardly done any videos. Like, this is the only live stream I've done this week, and I haven't done a video since last Friday. So I'm going to make some more videos. So I'll try and make one tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, I'll be on the weekend. And I've probably done all my socializing for a while, so I'll probably be a bit more regular next week. But yes, I've got, my God, what to do? I went out on Saturday night, and then on Monday night, and on Tuesday night, and on Wednesday night. So that's all going to settle down now. I'm going to be home much more. So I'll try and make some more videos and spend some more time with people. Hey, it's election night on Saturday night. I might try and do a live stream on Saturday night, but we'll see. I'm not sure if I'll do it. Oh no, buddy, if you're ever in town, I'm definitely up for a drink. But yeah, I might try and do a live stream on election night on Sunday night. We'll see how we go. And if you're going to vote in Victoria, really vote against the Liberals because they're fucking garbage scum fucks, and we really, really, really need them to lose this election because we need to send the message that their bullshit is not acceptable. But that's enough of that. Good night, one and all. I'll be going on. OG Mentor. I am doing great, man. You got in just in time for me to say goodbye. Yes, so look after yourself, one and all. I hope to see you again soon. But for now, I'll say good evening. Bye for now. I click the stop.